welcome to DApp Mentors. In this week, I want to share with you an important skill that you need to learn in this space and virtually in software development. Okay, so we've been deploying several applications already, and mostly they have to do with blockchain. So I wanted to inform you that if you're going to be doing real deployment, like real works, like projects that are going to be, running chain. Sometimes you might even need to run your own node or run some certain procedures or processes, that will assist your blockchain application, your DApp, and so on. You will need a VPS, virtual private server. All right, so you can just rely on Vercel to help you with what we're doing. The Vercel is not going to help us here. Okay, Vercel is not going to be suitable for large project. In fact, the real reason why we've been using Vercel was to just for demo purposes. All right, I will not use Vercel for a real project because except I'm starting something really small. But Vercel is not for a real project. You need a real powerful computer to get your stuff up and running. I would not want to go in the AWS route because I don't want to trust my data to all those big, fan companies. I would rather want to get my own server, configure it, and do whatever I want to do, have Docker installed in it so that I can containerize various services and even run my own blockchain, instance, for any network that I want to work with. So you see, there is so many usages for using your own VPS. Now, in this tutorial, what I want to do for you is to get you into the crux or the inner calculus of blockchain deployment. I'm just going to use a simple example, but you will understand it. What I'm going to do is I will utilize a VPS, my own VPS, for this demo purpose. I will also utilize Docker. So the VPS will have Docker environment already installed in it, and it will also use GitHub Actions. The GitHub action will ensure continuous deployment, integration, and all of that. So these are the things that you're going to learn in this particular tutorial. This is going to help you to learn how to deploy a real life, project. So without further ado, my name is Darlington Gospel, and if this is your first time of coming to this channel, please hit that like and subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Please, if you are a returning viewer, would like you to smash that like and subscribe button, okay? And also share the videos and refer others to this place. Quickly, if you haven't heard about the previous announcement that I've made on this channel, I want to reiterate that again. We are having a development course that is coming in this channel. It's going to have series in it, but it's all about getting you to build a decentralized an app that utilizes a decentralized storage. So we're utilizing the SIA blockchain, which is a decentralized storage blockchain. So unlike most blockchains such as the Ethereum and all its EVM compatible chain, they are for transactions, making payment from one account to the other. This one in particular enables you to transact data, basically, store data in various hosts, and you renting a space, and then you having a sole custody of your own data, with all the whole advantages that blockchain comes with, such as privacy, security, anonymity, and so on. So I'm going to show you how you can, leverage on decentralized storage, network, and how you can integrate it into your DApp. So it's going to be fantastic course, and you really need that because it's part of the blockchain, and we are about mastering various angles, departments, and hemispheres of the blockchain space. So that's what is coming on this channel. Please do check it out. It's coming in this month of August, so anticipate that. All right, let's jump into the video now. So to flow with me on this video, there are some things that you're gonna need, and one of them is this project. Okay, so I want to work with this project. This is just the recent project that we did on our channel, where we worked on a Solana tokenization DApp. So I want to host this particular application on my own VPS, okay? And I want to integrate GitHub actions to it and make sure that it's running on a Docker container. So we have Docker, we have VPS, and we have GitHub actions. Okay, so those are the things that we want to use to build this. So this is not going to be like just Vercel stuff, because sometimes Vercel is not going to help us, because some of these blockchain networks that you'll be working with, they have their own stacks, they have their own chains, and they have all those things, and it'd be best to run it on a VPS rather than trying to see if Vercel can offer you that kind of service. So this is one. Another thing that you need is a Docker instance. Okay, so you need to be able to have Docker installed on your computer. All right, so just install the one that is compatible for your own computer here. But if you don't want to go through all this process, which I personally don't want to run this thing on my computer, I feel like doing it online, because I don't want to go through the process of npm install and all those pulling of Docker images on my own computer here. But the whole thing works the same. I have Docker already installed here. I have Docker. This is my Docker environment. So I have Docker, and I use Docker for my projects. You get. So what I want to do is to leverage this thing called Gitpod workspace. It literally just gives you that computer on the web, and it's mostly free. Okay, so I could run any project that I want online. It even have Docker installed, so this helps me to do things really, really fast. So if you're not logged in, you just need to sign up and log in, and then you can create any one of those workspace. How do you create a workspace? It's very simple. Like, I want to leverage this repository, so I could copy this repository and go to Gitpod, and right here. So this is the repository, and I'm going to select this one. Now you can decide to open it on VS Code or on the desktop, on the browser. But I'm going to go with VS Code because I just wanted to have that look and feel like I'm actually working on my local development environment. So I'm going to, create that. But before that, I'm going to quit the existing project I'm working on, so that everything will start from scratch. So I'm going to open this on VS Code now. Just say yes. So I'm sure this should be running on the terminal. Okay, so here we go. Here we have it. I'm gonna do this, okay, and make sure that my face is not blocking any view for you. Okay, so it's installing all the packages, but there are some essential things that I just want you to know. So let's get this project up and running. One of the things you want to do is to add there's an environment variable that is quite important here. So I'm going to try and get it. Where are you? This is the public token, a key pair, basically a key pair of a key pair. If you don't understand it, you can always reference that tutorial that we did. But this is the only environment variable that is in that project. So I'm gonna call it .env and paste this. So we're going to add a key pair here. Okay, so I'm going to give it this key pair. This is my key pair, so it's very lengthy though. But this key pair is going to help this application to start. Let's just start it up and see how it goes. So see yarn dev. So I'm going to open this on the browser. You can always check out the exposed port. All right, so there you have it. It looks like it's running on your own, machine, which is one of the cool things that I liked about Gitpod. Okay, so this is it. The project is working. So next thing we want to do is to Dockerize it. So I'm going to end this, and after ending that, so we're going to call it Dockerfile, and inside of this Dockerfile, this is where we'll write some instructions that are necessary to have this project built, an image built out of this project, because you need an image to create a container, which that we run that image, that instance of that image online. So we want to build that first, and before we build, you might want to confirm that Docker is installed here. If I say docker -- version, you see that Docker is installed here, which is great. You don't need to have it on your, personally install it if you want to use this route that I'm doing. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to run your own terminal, because, and you need to follow this, because if I do node -- version, you see that this is the version that I have. This version is what I use to build this application. Okay, so I have to use that specific version. So the first thing I want to do is to say I want to use an official image of a Node.js. Okay, so I'm going to have Node.js installed, and I'm going to set the working directory for this Node.js application to be the /app. These are just basic things about what's it called, Docker. So this is what will help you to build an image. So I also want to set, make sure I copy down all the package JSON into this application. Okay, and after that, I want to install the packages. Okay, you do npm install. I want you to run npm install, but the problem is that because there is one package in particular called this package, what's it called, React Identicon. This React Identicons is an older package, so it has a way of producing a lot of stubbornness in the application. I haven't found a replacement for it yet, and I think I'm going to have to do so. I will check out some videos on how to, I'll check out online and see a replacement for this Identicon. It kind of screw a lot with, mess around a lot, and a lot of complaints it has. So but you can avoid that by just putting this flag called --legacy -pair dependency. So it will resolve that, any conflict that comes there. Then after that installation is done, I'm going to copy down the rest of these codes that are in here in this working directory into this work directory that is in the Docker, for the Docker container. Okay, and I will then build the application, because you're not going to be running, yarn dev or npm run dev online, on the production version. So you need to build it first so that it can run yarn. So you do yarn build. After that is run, you want to then expose, it on a specific port. So for this, I'm going to expose it on this port called, 90,000. Okay, so I'm doing that momentarily. I may be mistaken, but I think it's 9,000, because the internal port of a Next.js and React application is port 3,000. So I'm trying to see if I can use a different port than the one that I have that is very popular, just to prove to you that it's running on the Docker environment. Then that is what I would like to do. So now, after this, you want to specify a volume where you want to create a volume, where volume is like a repository, a data repository, where any internally generated files, is dumped. And even when you destroy that container, you even destroy the image. If you install a new image and install a new container and you still reference the same data directory, it will pull up previous data. It kind of gives you that persistency in your container so that any container generated data will not be lost. Okay, so and then lastly, I want to start this particular application. So let's build the image with this. The cool thing is that you need to install this thing called Docker, extension. And I think if you come to extensions, you find it right here. So this one, this Docker extension. This is the extension I'm talking about. It helps you to do quite a lot of quick work instead of running the command all by yourself. So I'm going to run this command now, okay, to have all these things installed according to my specification. So I'm going to right click and click on, I may probably need to increase this so that it can be seen more. So I'm going to run this process, say build image. So it's going to be called Solana token, tokenizer project, and then it has a tag called latest. Okay, I'm going to just enter that, and you can see that this is the command. This command here, you can literally run it on your own terminal. So this is a command that you can literally run this on the terminal and it will do exactly the same thing that is happening right here. So what is going on is that it's pulling the necessary images that are associated with this my application, such as the Node.js, and it's forming up all these various tags. So it's getting the Node.js, as the first tags, and so on. So we're going to wait for this process to be completed, and after it's done, we'll have our image built. Okay, so the process has complete. You can see finished, so the image is built. I think when we open this Docker file here, you should be able to see that this Solana tokenized project, and you can see this tag of latest has been built. So after the building, the next thing we need to do is to run it, okay? To run it in a container so that we can visit it and interact with it online. Currently, if I do this refresher, you see that this is no longer online because I've ended the process for long. So I'm going to come back here and run this particular image so that to be executed. You can see how the instruction is here and it's running already. Okay, so this instruction of port 900 to 9 something, it's probably not correct, so I may have to resolve that, but let's look at it and see what's going on here. It's supposed to be 3000 to 9000, so it's not working. The internal port is not correct, so the external port and the internal port, is not correct, so we need to, get that, together. So what we need to do is to change this back to 3000, okay, and you can literally copy this line of code, all right, but before that, let's end this Docker process. This is the Docker container. Let's remove this, stop it, and remove this existing one. So I'm going to run a new process. So I can terminate this. I'll run this. Okay. So now I'm going to map I want to map the port on the container, which is 3000, to the port that I want, which is 9000. So I'm going to map that. And okay, so so it's showing on port 9000. So let's check it out. Okay, see, everything is working great, which is really cool. So you can see our application is working and is in good faith. Now, the next step here is to ship this thing to a VPS. But the means which you want to use to put it on a VPS is going to be through GitHub Action. So in the next part of this video, I want to show you how you can get GitHub Action configured so that you can utilize it. Okay, so in this part, we will need to start setting up our VPS. Okay, VPS means virtual private server, and it's basically like a computer on the web. Okay, it's a computer dedicated with high performance to run, host your website, your project online 24/7 without shutting down. So we have that for this particular tutorial. So I'm going to just run you through how, how to do that. So I have to log in into my VPS, and this is how you log in into VPS. You use SSH. So you have SSH, and then it's telling you the root, because that's your user ID, and the particular computer which you connect by the IP address. And then you have to secretly enter in your password for this particular VPS, and it has to be correct. Once you log in, okay, so once you log in, you'll be able to see all the information you need to know about your VPS, and all that. And this VPS already has Docker installed. So if I run Docker -- version, you see that Docker is installed. Now, all of these things you're going to have to learn. You learn it. This is not us starting up a fresh VPS, installing all those. That will be a lot of work. I'm just telling you from a position of having a VPS already, having Docker installed already, having a project already, and you just connect the whole thing. That is what we're trying to say. You connect the entire thing and have it running on your VPS. That is what we're trying to do right now. So we're not trying to do everything from scratch. Doing everything from scratch, that will require a dedicated tutorial. All right. So once you have this, one of the things that you need, to make a successful connection to, to form that bond, because our code is going to be shipped to GitHub, and we want to use GitHub to push this code into, push the entire code into a repository in a folder in our VPS, and then also run some command to use those codes on the VPS to form a Docker image, spin up a container and have it launch on a certain port. That is what we're trying to do here. So, but to do that, you need to get an SSH key. So, for example, I'm gonna get into the SSH key, location. So if you type in / you want to cd, you want to say cd into / ssh. Okay, sorry, not like that. It's actually .ssh. Okay, so you entering into this SSH directory, and you can see I already have some keys available here. I'm going to remove this tester key, which I generated yesterday, and I'm also going to remove this tester dot pub. So when I list the keys, you see that I only have, so I say ls, I only have 3 keys, which I'm using this, but I'm trying to create a new key altogether. And why you need to create a key is because, let's come to this project, is because for your GitHub to be authenticated, for the request coming from your GitHub domain to be authenticated, it has to come with a special approved key, which you can create by I'm gonna just do this because I don't want my face to be blocking anything, so I'm gonna do this here. So I'll come to, you see these settings, You just need to enter your GitHub account. Okay, you come to settings, and inside of settings, you have this SSH tab. All right, you can see that I've already added one of my SSH things, but you want to create a new SSH key. Okay, so this is how an SSH key begins. It has all this information about it. So you want to give this a title. Want to say Solana project, or YouTube project, YouTube tutorial. So this is the key. Okay, now so you need to generate an SSH key. For you to generate an SSH key, it has to be done from your server endpoint. Okay, so for this tutorial, I'm just going to generate one. So you need to come back to this console. You can say, and then you write a certain command to generate an SSH key. So you say SSH, not SSH dash key gen, dash T, which is for tab. And they have this certain, there are two kinds of SSH key. One is RSA, and the other is ED25519. We're going to use that ED25519. This is the kind of key that we want to generate. So you then run this command, and it's going to give you some, it's going to take you through a procedure for you to enter this information. So you say enter file in which to save the key. So you need to specify the file. So I'm going to call it YouTube tutorial for toots. So YouTube tutorial for toots, that is the name. Enter a passphrase. I want to use any passphrase, so I'm just going to enter. Say the same passphrase is empty and it's been created. You can see that this is the SSH. This is a hash fingerprint that is generated specifically for this particular key. If I do ls, you find out that I have that key. This is the public key, and this is a private key. If I do cat YouTube, do you see the private key here? And if I do cat, for public key, you can see that this one is the public key here. So these are the two information that we need. Between these two keys, this private key is going to stay on your server. After I'm going to remove this private key, so don't worry about it. So I'm just going to remove it after I'm done with this, because it's not for public use. I'm just giving you this because it's a tutorial and you needed to see everything the way it is. So I'm going to copy this public key. That is what you use. Okay, public key. You use public key and you go to GitHub and you enter it here. So you see that the public key begins with SSH-RSA or this, or in our case it begins with this SSH dash ED25519. So we paste that. You can see how it begins here. So this will help provide a secure connection whenever our VPS is communicating with our GitHub account and vice versa. Okay, so you add this. All right, so let me use my own password. So I've added this SSH key. Okay, and this is the fingerprint generated by GitHub. So now we have that connection secured, which is great. So now the next thing we need to do is to come to Daltonic Solana. We need to go back to that project. Okay, so close this. I'm going to come to this project here, Solana tokenized application. So now, then the next set of action you need to do is to come to the settings, and we're going to enter in some secret variables for GitHub action. secret variables for GitHub Actions. So for these secret keys, you understand there are some things that you're going to need. Let's add the first secret. The first secret is going to be something like SSH hosts, okay, which particular hosts or IP address that we want to connect to. And in our case, the IP address is none other than the one we used in logging in. I'm going to momentarily close, exit out from here. Come on. Exit. Okay, so connection closed. So, but basically, this is the IP address, the hosts that we want to connect with. So I'm going to paste that here. So we do this, and then you also want to do the same thing for the username of this host that you want to use root, right? So I'm going to add that. Okay, so and then I'm also going to do the private key. Okay, so the private key is very important. It's basically the password that you use in logging in. So I'm not going to reveal this, of course. So I'm going to pause the video and enter my private key here, and then continue on. I'll add it so that it will be private. So I've added that private key. Okay, so these are very important. So what else do I need to add? We need to add any other kinds of environment variable that we need. For example, we need to add this particular one called next_public token owner key pair. So I'm going to add that as well. So let's add that. Enter here, because those are environment variables and they're quite important. So I'm going to copy the rest of it, paste this here. So add secret. Okay, let's add that secret. So there we go. I think these are all the items that we're going to need to perform an interaction. Okay, so that is it for this particular part. In the next part, we then need to perform a procedure. This procedure is we're going to write a GitHub action. Okay, so we're going to write a GitHub action step by step on how to Dockerize this thing, and we're going to do all that in the next part so that you understand. I'm going to go through it step by step on how to put this piece of project in, on a VPS, my VPS. This next step involves creating a workflow. So I'm going to create a workflow, a GitHub workflow. That's what it means. It's what will trigger certain actions on GitHub. These things are there, but people don't use it always. So except you're in a core development team. So I'm going to create a new GitHub action. You call it .github. Okay, so and inside of this, I'm going to create another folder called workflow. And inside of this workflow, I'm going to create a new file. I'll call it main for the main branch, the YML. The codes are written in YML. Okay, so let's get it one step at a time. The first step that we want to proceed is you need to specify the name of this particular workflow, which in this case is basically is the front end development to deployment to Ubuntu VPS. Okay, so the VPS is the operating system of my VPS, which is the one you are noticing here, is on Ubuntu. Okay, so it's Ubuntu base, which is a Linux version of the operating system. So now that's the front end. I could just call it deploy project Solana project deploys Solana project to Ubuntu VPS. Great. And you need a new step, or a new section. This is called on. What on does is you're trying to look for triggers. We're trying to watch out for certain triggers. So the trigger that we're watching for is called any branch push, any push, merge, whatever code that comes into the main branch. That is what we're looking for. So if there is a push to the main branch, and you say branches, and the branches you're talking about is the main branch. So now this is good. This is going to watch out for any push that happens on this main branch. Then it's going to trigger this particular workflow. So after this, the next important step that is needed is called jobs. So jobs are like the procedures, the things that you want to execute, on this branch. What we want to do is to push our code into Ubuntu VPS, copy the code on the GitHub repository into there, and create a repository, a Docker container, and have our project launch there. That is what we want to do. So the first step that we want to do is to prepare the environment. So the environment for deployment, basically. So we want the environment which this procedure will be happening to be on an Ubuntu, Ubuntu latest. So that is the operating system that we want to run on. And the steps that are involved here includes, we use something called uses action. So there are different actions that have been created already. So one of the action, this is like an action manager. It helps you to manage all the action that we're going to use. So basically this thing called actions checkout will help us to authenticate our VPS. That is to, log in to have access, and, perform all this operation on our behalf. Okay, so this is what it means by this particular action. And then, you got to name, each step has a name. So you say the name of this step is called ensure target directory exists on Ubuntu, on VPS. So, and I'm so sorry. So we have step uses name. The name, inside of the name, you can then say uses. Okay. These two are different. Okay, this is one step. Okay, this is another step that we're doing here. So it's just like a sub process. Okay, so we're using a package called this appleboy/ssh-action. This appleboy is responsible for logging in, authorization, and all of this, all of those process. Okay, so and you want to say with the host of this the host which we are operating. Remember, we have all this SSH variables. So the host will be this SSH host. Okay, and it's not going to be an environment variable on GitHub, so we can access it without really revealing the content of our host. So we can do that by saying this $, and then you say this is the host key, and I want to do the same for the username and the key, which is like the password. So I'm just going to copy this information. Key will be private key, key is private key, and username is this username. So these are the variables that we need to be there. And then you need a script. We need a script. This script will help us to run some certain procedure. So let me give you a context to what I'm saying. So now this is the script that I want to run. You know that in my Ubuntu I want to check if I do have a directory named dockerized/containers/ I don't want to use this particular name. I want to use Solana project. Okay, Solana project. So I want to check if there is a certain folder named Solana project. Okay, if there is no folder named Solana project, I want that folder to be created, which is this make there, -p. We ensure that if the path does not exist, all the folders such as Dockerized container and this thing are all created together. And else, if it does exist, I want everything in that particular folder to be removed, because I want a fresh, I want to do a fresh, start. I want to do a fresh start, okay? So this concludes the first step, that we need. So I'm going to move forward a little bit faster to have all these things done on time, because got a lot of steps here. So I'm just going to explain it, So I'm going to put another step underneath this one. So underneath this, come here, paste another step. Okay, so after the environment is prepared, a directory has been made to cater for this Solana project. I want to then copy everything everything there is, all the source code in my .github, in my GitHub, repository, because this is accessing my GitHub repository. So I'm going to copy everything from my GitHub repository and, copy it to this particular location. So that is what is going to happen in this step. All right. And now I need to create an environment variable. Okay. You remember that our application works with one critical or essential environment variable. So I need to create an environment variable. How I do that is by running this script. This script called cat, we create an environment variable into this particular location, and I need to make sure that it's in this folder. So I'm going to create this, put these things inside, but this is not exactly what I want. All I want to put in there is this particular environment variable. So I'm going to create that, and let's name that properly. So this is the environment variable that I'm adding in here. Okay. So that now I have my environment variable. Then at this point, also take note that this we have all this, my Docker file, my Docker configuration, everything will be there. So so that at the next point, which is the point which I have to build the image, and I can't build the image without a Docker file. So the Docker file is important to build the image, and the environment variable that I'm creating is also important to supply the image with all the necessary, environment variables. So let's go to the next. You see, these are steps. So the first step was, here's the first step. The first step was prepare environment, variable. So I'm going to have to replicate that step again. So I'm going to copy this part. So come here and move here. So that is the location. So at this step, you can break this down. I want to build the image, so build Docker image. So it's going to utilize this Ubuntu latest as well. We're going to use that as well. So let's jump in down here. Now let's build the image with a hash commit, the recent hash commit that we just published. Okay, so I'm going to build this. So build Docker image with hash commit hash. We'll do this, and we're running this script. So this script exports this Docker build kit to be one. It's quite important for some underneath Docker procedures. It's not really very, it's not a must that you must understand, but I guess you can just do a little research on it and you understand how it is. So I'm going to create that image. So this, we access this project container, this project folder, which is this Solana project, and run docker build, -t, this Solana project image, and it will use all the information in this Solana project, which has been copied down here already. Okay, so that process will run. Once that process runs, I need to move on to run another step. Okay, so these steps that I'm putting is important for, let's say I'm redeploying. I made some changes to my Solana project, and I want to send those changes to the VPS for it to be updated online. Then what I want is for that container to stop, because I can't publish new updates into a container without stopping it first and rebuilding the image. So you see that this step will stop this container, and then it will proceed. It's saying that it needs this build Docker image actually. So this step is dependent on this. So that is what is going on here. And then it runs again. So it stops and remove old Docker container. So the old Docker container is going to be removed, and this is what it is. So stop. I'm not going to, just going to say it will stop a Docker container. This flag that we add in here is if the container is already running. Okay, this makes sure that it does not produce an error and stop and just crashes the entire process, in case there is no container that exists with this name. Okay, and then remove it as well. This will prevent any altercation from spoiling our process. Okay, so that's why we added that there. So after this, you want to add another step. This step is to build a new Docker container. Okay, so I can come here, paste this. So we can decide to, the internal port is of course 3000. We can decide to add a port, if I say new secret, I call this port and say 9000, add that as a secret. In case I want to change it in the future, I can just do that from there. So now this port, this secret port will now be available during this process that is happening. So what is happening here? Let me make sure that I have the right keyword. So Solana project. So okay, let me bring it up the way here. So we're running a new instance. So what is happening is I'm giving this script command saying docker run a new container in a detached mode, and the name of this container, we want it to be Solana project instance, and it should restart unless it is stopped intentionally. Otherwise, if there is any crash that happens within the process of that container running, it will restart itself so that our website will never be offline. You understand that? So, and then the port is going to be this secret port that we're exposing it, which is the port 9000, but the internal port will be 3000 still. And we're creating a volume for it. A volume is where this information is going to be deposited in. So where some data, internal generated files, data and all that, if there is anyone, it's going to be loaded there to help us with persistency of the container data. And then this is the image which we built here. If you come to here, so this is the image we built. So you can run a container without an image. So this image helps us to run that. So that image helps us to run that. So after this is done, we then proceed to one extra step. Okay, I'm going to show you here. So this step, make sure that I'm in the right place. Okay. So this step here is called clean up. Please be aware that this is a YML file and every indentation matters. So you have to make sure that all these things are well indented and each of these steps are in the right order and the right steps. So if you make mistake here, it's not going to be very funny. You understand? So make sure that you're keeping everything well indented. All right. So I want to clean up, because I'm going to be building stuff over and over again. So I don't want images, because each time I build, it's going to rebuild a fresh image for me. So any previous image that I'm no longer using, I want to clear it out from my VPS so that I will not be over bloated with a lot of images, and images can be very large, 1.something gigabyte and so on. So that is one of the reasons. So we want to stop. It needs this stop and restart container to be done. You understand? So it depending on that, and this process cleans up previous Docker images except the latest. So I'm gonna get the latest the latest image ID, which is like the tag of that image. You know that each image have their own tags, like the one that we're working on that has this latest. Let me show you. If we come to this Docker, you find this Solana, you can see that this latest is a tag. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. So we're going to get the ID, latest ID. This is how we get it, and make sure that everything is utilizing Solana project. You don't want any one of these. The reason why I'm doing this is my previous project, and I just follow the same pattern so that everything will be in line. All right, so we get the latest image. This is like creating a variable of some sort, and we're calling Docker images, and we're looking for anything that has, that belongs to this Solana project image, any of those variations of it, which will be indicated by the hash tag or something, the ID. So we want to grab that, and then we want to remove all those images except the one that is latest, so which is this instruction, and these are just Ubuntu/Linux command. So that is the command that gets the job done. All right, and lastly, I'm going to run this step here. So this step remove untagged Docker images. So this does a general one even for other images that are not being used. It's going to drop them all. You understand? So this is what all that process is. So at this point, we are just about done. You just need to make sure that I don't have any more of anything that is not in line. So you need to check and make sure that everything is in line. The name, the on, and the job, they have to be on the same indentation, and this prepare. If you break this down, you want to make sure that all these steps, they are on the same line. That's true. So you want to make sure that these steps, which carries all this, anywhere you see name, so all of these, they fall into the same step, which is good. So I just want to make sure that all of those things are aligning, and you don't have something that is, not in line with this, because when we push this, we want absolute, smoothness. So at this point, I think I'm having some network issue. Okay, so you can see that these are the things that have been updated here. Okay, so I need to push this information online. Okay, I need to push them online, and before I do so, I'll come here and I need to log into my SSH again. I need to log in into my my VPS, and I want to seed into Dockerize. See this directory, let me show you this directory. So I want to log in into this directory here. So I will say cd into this. So, and when I do list, you can see some of the projects that I have running, a project directories on this place. You can see right now that we don't have anyone called Solana project, Solana tokenized project. We don't have any one of that. But now let's push this thing online and see what is going on. So now I'm going to come here. I will say added a GitHub action for VPS deployment. Okay, so, and then synchronize this to the main branch. Now I'll come here. This is the main branch. If I refresh this and come to this place, okay, so it's failing already. Why? Because invalid workflow, unrecognized name, SSH host located a position within Express. So need to look into that. Okay, so why this problem is showing up is because if you look here, I didn't, these SSH, these keys, they are captured within a thing called .secret, okay? They are inside these secret variables, you understand? They are not just isolated on their own, and I made that mistake. So I need to update my work again. I need to make sure that I target everywhere we have this. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to find everywhere we have this SSH like this. I think it's only in this, we only have it in these three places, these initial ones. I could say secret dot. Okay, so now if I do this, you can see that is in alignment. It's not secret, but with an S, secrets. So make sure that is absolutely correct. So if I do this, you can see that each one of them, is in alignment with everyone. So that's some quick changes. You can see everything has to be well aligned. If not, it produces an error. So say modified workflow script. So let's push that to GitHub again. Okay, and we then come to this action again here. You can see that this is the one that just deployed right now, and it's starting up. So it's building. So it failed at this build Docker image with hash. So I'm thinking that why this is happening is because our SSH key is wrong. There's something about this SSH key. You can see that this private key is wrong, and I think I've made a mistake in my own end. I had thought about this as a different thing together. What will happen is, let's come back to these settings here, and this secret key, this action, precisely this private key, it's not going to be the password that I was thinking about. Instead, it's going to be the private key which we generate on in the server, in our VPS earlier on. So I'm going to go back to that particular position. So I'm going to say cd /.ssh, and I'm there, and then I'll say cat YouTube, the private key. So I'm going to copy from here, so and paste it here. So let's update this secret. So it's updated now. So at this point, since it's updated, we just need to rerun this workflow. Let's run this workflow again. Say rerun all jobs. Rerun. So these we're not supposed to run one after, one's supposed to finish running before the other. So this one is failing as well. Hope it's not the same problem. So the next thing that we need to do to address this is, because we missed one essential step in our VPS, you see, we're using the private key that we generated to try to handshake with our VPS. VPS does have a list of keys. So if I say ls, you see this thing called authorized keys. I can't expose it because it has some important keys, but we need to add the content of this YouTube.public. We need to add it. We need to append it, inside of this our authorized keys. But I'm going to remove it after now, of course, so that nobody will play foul play with it. So to do that, all you need to do is do cat, and you're saying YouTube.public, and you want to put the content of that inside this authorized keys. So you hit that, and that has appended the content of this into these authorized keys. So it's been appended. Now I'm going to pause the video to confirm that it's been appended, without showing you the rest of my keys. So I'm going to do that now before I proceed. Yeah, I can confirm that it's been added, and we're good to try this out again. Before I do so, I want to come back to my code and see this prepare environment. I want this next step to depend, before building anything, I need it to have, I want it to depend on this particular step to be achieved, so that two steps will not be running simultaneously and causing some conflict. So I want to make sure that is protected. Okay, so I'll say updated the steps order. So save that, synchronize again. All right, so now come to GitHub Actions. So inside this action, you can see how all the steps are well aligned now. So no one will go before the other. And now the process is happening. You can see everything is working now, and this step has been completed. You see, it's now building the image. And at this point, we can come back here. We can come to this terminal here and say cd, this Docker rise containers, and do ls. You see that I have this Solana project directory has been, shown to us. If I do cat, I'll say ls Solana project. You can see that all those things that I copied are listed here. Okay, they are listed here, and including the environment variable. So these things were grabbed from from GitHub, and you can see that this is building the image. Image building is happening under the hood right now. So at this point, it's now running this legacy installation, this npm install process. So this thing takes a while, especially when it is building newly. Okay, the first builds, it normally takes a while for all these things to complete. Okay, this has been built successfully, and the layer is being exported now so that it will be available for what's it called, for image for the container when we are running the container phase. So this is successfully built and it's running a post, stuff. So now it's stopping and starting the container, and since there is no container existing, it should be pretty much fast. So look at that. So stopping and removing old container and running new Docker container instance. Okay, so we have an issue here. So it's saying that there is a port that is already running this 9,000. Remember, we added that 9,000 there. There's a port already running that, and we need to change that. We need to look for a different port that we use because that is not going to work out. So let's come to this. This is one of the cool stuff. You don't need to go to your code to do this. You can just change the port here. So let's change the port to something like 9001, 9001. So we need to update that port to 9001, and we'll come back to this action, this one that failed. We don't want to run all the steps. We just want to run from this step. So say rerun this job, rerun failed jobs. So, and then we'll run this one. So it's running from this place now, which is cool because I don't have to start from scratch. So it's running that and it's starting the container in this new port, and this is going to work just fine now. And lastly, just clean up anything that it's not right. This process should be fast. So finished and job is done. So our application is running online now, and if I come here and do Docker PS, you see, let me reduce this. Okay, so you see this Solana project instance that is running on port 9001. Okay, so if I visit this VPS online by doing this by coming here, so saying 3, so 9001. Let's visit that location. You can see that tokenized app is running here. So this is it. On a Docker container is running online, which is absolutely crazy and cool. So I like what we just did here. This is how you have your project, implemented. Now, this is not secured and all of that, but this is not the scope of it. But there are ways that I do manage all these things. There are, I could have this thing on a domain name, can link it to a domain, have all those things managed, put SSL certificates on it and all of that, and manage your own project. This is how you can be doing to enhance your project, to do whatever you want to do. Like now, if I make any simple change and just commit it, this is where the font comes in. Okay, this is the font place. So if I come here and say I want to look at this balance, and I want to change this to current balance instead of token balance, and then I just say change a little item, just change a little item for now. So synchronize this. This is so cool because, of course, one of the things you want to do is to make sure you build your project here by running yarn build to make sure that everything is running properly before you push that. But the moment I did that, it just jumping into this action right here, and to start working its way under the hood online. And while it just goes ahead and prepare all these things under the hood and just build your project, depending on some circumstances, if the what you're trying to build is really much. If it's not much, it doesn't take much time to build. Like you can see how this process is just built really fast compared to how the process when we first built it, it took a lot of time to build it, but now it just runs really fast, and this process will be finished before you know it. All right, and then when you restart this project, you will find out that this thing is changed. Right now, it's not changed because we've not come to the point where it has stopped this container and launched a new one. Because one of the funny things, the cool stuff is that it will speedily stop the container and launch a new one before you know it. It just takes a couple of seconds for that update to happen. Maybe you have a better way of doing it, but that's how I actually did it. And highest, it takes 5 seconds before the new updated container comes online. And this is what Vercel basically does under the hood. This is a basic form of it. There is a more sophisticated way of handling all these things, and this process is called that CI, content integration / content delivery process. So I'm doing this integration on the fly without blinking and all that. So this is what I wanted to teach you for this particular video, because you're going to need these skills when you're deploying real projects that you want to make money out of, or for a company and so on. These are various ways you need to deploy. Okay, so this has been completed. I'm sure the rest of this is going to run really faster. The first batch that we run, it took almost 8 minutes for everything to run, but this is getting really fast, which is really cool. So you can see that if we start this thing afresh, you can see that the current balance has now showed up. That new update has been added here, which is really cool, right? So that is the cool thing about it. It's still running, but the update has happened that fast. Okay, so I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial today. I spent quite a lot of time to get this thing done, because there are just so many processes involved in this. What I didn't cover in this tutorial is how the process of you buying your VPS and doing your own installation, running all those things, and making sure that Docker and all the items involved are up and ready. I didn't go through that. The second thing I didn't do is the process of teaching you how to install Docker. I didn't do that, which should fall into the part of the VPS thing, but we just used a Git pod to utilize their existing Docker framework to just run this. Okay, but installing Docker is not really a big deal. Okay, you just need to go to their website and download and install it, and there you go. Okay, so those are just the little things that we're not into this, but I bet you a time will come that you're going to need this sort of example, and this is going to come at your beck and call. So with that said, please hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and I'm going to see you the next time. All right, my name is Darlington Gospel. Expect great things coming into the channel, a big set of tutorial courses, real courses coming. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.